The Gauteng High Court has interdicted Minister of Higher Education, Nzimande, from placing the University of South Africa under administration. Now, on Friday, the court ordered the minister to withdraw his notice to have the university placed under custodianship, which he announced on Thursday. It comes after allegations of maladministration and misconduct against vice-chancellor Professor Puleng Lenkabula. Earlier this year, an independent report found that financial and other maladministration undermined the functioning of the university. Now, the university had taken the report on a legal review to appeal the findings. Let's speak more about the process it takes to place a university under administration with the University of Johannesburg Business School Professor Ahmed Bawa. And we also spent, of course, looking at some of the factors around this. Professor, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time. The High Court has flagged a problem with the Higher Education Minister Nzimande's notice. What warrants such a concern?
Yeah, first of all, good morning, and thank you for having me, Mpo. So I think the critical issue here is that is whether the minister followed the process or not. And my understanding is that the UNISA Council went to the court on the basis that it did not provide the minister with a response to the assessor's report. The minister, of course, appears to me at least to have followed the process in the sense that he provided the report to the UNISA Council, gave them a period of time. They didn't respond to their fullest satisfaction at least, and took the report then to on legal review. And of course their argument is that while it's on legal review, the minister should not be in a position to place UNISA under administration. As far as I'm aware, the Higher Education Act provides for a period of 90 days for the council to respond to the assessor's report. And it hasn't done that. And the minister now, of course, has issued the letter of administration, if you like. Yeah. So that's the situation, it seems to me. And the court came out on the side of UNISA, in that UNISA had taken, the UNISA Council at least, had taken the assessor's report on review.
What would have needed to happen in this regard? Because, Professor Temba Musia issued a scathing report into UNISA's management, really just flagging some serious concerns, especially around financial management.
Yeah, I think that the normal circumstances would have been that the minister would have gone to the Council of Higher Education early on to appoint an assessor. He did that. The assessor did the investigation. The report came up. The normal situation would be that the minister would then present the assessor's report to the university council. The council would be asked to respond within a certain period of time, and then the minister would receive that report, receive a counter to that assessor's report, and then that would lead to either a decision to appoint an administrator or not. In this case, what UNISA did was what I mentioned earlier, which is to take the report on review. Now, this is it's an unprecedented situation, I think, that a council has taken a report, the assessor's report on review. And I think there's going to be a bit of a legal battle here, it seems to me.
And as that is set to take place, I mean, what does this now speak to when we constantly have to bring up the role of politicians and government when it comes to such institutions? I mean, we're seeing it at different institutions across the country, and questions are being raised about what that now does to the functioning of an institution.
Yeah. So let me make 2 points. First of all, I'm an absolute advocate for the autonomy of universities. But our universities are public universities, and if there are a significant kind of complaints about the university, significant whistleblower reports, a significant number of reports of maladministration and so on, it's required of the minister, it seems to me, to take action. And the Higher Education Act provides for that. It's very clear about the process, and that should really take precedence. These are public institutions, and UNISA, by the way, is one of our most important public institutions. So from that point of view, it's clear to me that while I would defend the autonomy of our universities, that where there are clear indications of maladministration and so on, that there is a need for the universities to be placed under administration. So that's the first point I want to make. The second point I want to make is that this doesn't affect the running of the institution. It doesn't affect the ongoing student support and academic activities and so on. So that continues. Even if an administrator is appointed, the purpose of the administrator is really to place the university on a footing that would allow it to be administered in the future. So something which I can't, I don't fault the minister in that regard. I don't have a problem with that. Yeah.
Well, as a result, the minister's been ordered to pay UNISA's legal costs. What happens now going forward? I mean, you speak about how you imagine a massive legal battle, the back and forth, but going forward, what happens?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think that, it's very unfortunate because this just, builds up costs again. I mean, it seems as though every kind of action in South Africa that's taken by government kind of leads to a legal case. But I do think that, two things. I mean, the one is that the council of the university has to respond to the assessor's report. Now, it can take it on legal review or not. I mean, what we also have to understand is that although UNISA has just gone through an audit by the Council of Higher Education, it might well be that the Council of Higher Education says, sorry, we really want to revisit some of these big issues that have been raised in the assessor's report. So there might well be another set of processes which might lead to further investigations and so on. The one thing that is clear to me is that there are very serious problems at UNISA. And we can say that the minister doesn't have the right to intervene and so on. But if one just looks at the throughput rate of students, of graduates at universities, at UNISA, it's very, very low. And there's no question in my mind that for such an important institution in our system, that we have to take actions to correct the maladministration and so on.
Of course, a number of other allegations have been brought to the forefront here, some saying that the minister is perhaps trying to protect the tender system at UNISA. One lecturer saying that it's now entirely up to UNISA staff and students to protect the university from collapsing at the hands of government. Do you think that's a fair statement?
I don't think that's a fair statement. I've been following this for years and years, and there hasn't been a single case, it seems to me, where this minister or other ministers that have placed institutions on administration haven't had good purpose to do so. So and by the way, those documents are all public. So it's not as if things are being swept under the carpet. And I think that there's a very clear case here for administration.
What do you think it will take now to, turn the situation around and bring UNISA back to its highs when it comes to management? And of course, I mean, you make mention of a very important point, that the graduate rate is not as high as it should be.
Yeah, so a couple of things again. I mean, the one is clearly, one of the most important relationships in the governance of a university is the relationship between the council, the vice-chancellor, the council, and the senate, and so on. And so that's the one issue, which is to say there's a need for a very clear analysis of the relationship between the council and the vice-chancellor, the council and the senate, and so on, and that needs to be addressed. I mean, so that's an issue I think that has to be put on the table and looked at very clearly. The second issue is just the governance of the institution. Making sure that students are communicated with better, that the quality of teaching is good, and so on. Just a range of different, very practical decisions need to be taken with regard to the way in which UNISA offers its academic programs. The third is clearly the issue of maladministration and corruption and so on. There have been several reports about the way in which UNISA goes about its business has kind of undermined corporate governance in many ways. So that's the third issue. And then the fourth issue is the issue of stability. Generally speaking, that's the main reason the minister begins to address the issue of governance at universities, and that is if there's significant instability. And UNISA has had a lot of instability. So there are some very practical steps to be taken. How do you address the issue of instability at an institution like UNISA? And one of the issues that has been raised over and over again at UNISA is the factionalism, at the institution, different groupings and so on, contesting each other. And that's something I think that we have to, for the benefit of our country, I think we have to address those issues.
Yeah.
And that's what the administrator would have done. So, yeah.
Yeah, an interesting take. Thank you so much for your time. The University of Johannesburg's Business School, Professor Ahmed Bawa, helping us make sense of what it means and what the process should entail for placing universities under administration.